everyone, I'm Ari Meghlen here with Poli, and we're your hosts for the Merry Writer podcast. We are on episode 117, and this week's question is, how do you identify your ideal reader? Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening so you never miss a show. And if you enjoy our episode, please do give it a like, write a review, and share it with friends. Okay, so when I'm talking about your ideal reader, I'm not talking about, oh, look, that person over there, they're reading. I'm going to identify them as an ideal reader. I'm talking about the fictional character. It's the specific person that you create that your book would appeal the most to. You might have heard about this with marketing advice when they mention ideal reader. It's where you take the concept of like a target audience and you sort of bring it down and you pick one person. Seriously, like Mr. Joe Blogs is going to be your ideal reader. And the purpose of the ideal reader is kind of to help you write with purpose. It gives you a specific person to market to. And that may sound strange. I know it sounded strange the first time I heard it, and it was kind of like, what? That's stupid. Loads of people are going to read my book. Maybe, probably not. Who knows? But the idea of designing a reader that you aim your book marketing at, honestly, it can actually make a difference. I have done this in my business, and I went into it very critically with that kind of, this isn't going to work. And it did work. And then I felt like an idiot. So I'm making myself feel better by talking about it. So what it is we've all heard about target audience. You know, it's the group of people, like if you are writing a sci-fi, your target audience are people who like sci-fi, people who enjoy sci-fi, not people who hate sci-fi or people who only read horror or people who only read romance. I mean, yes, you could write sci-fi with a romance, but obviously your main target audience would be sci-fi readers. Now, you take your target audience and you drill down to a specific person, and then you imagine yourself pitching your book and doing all your marketing to just that one person that you know really well. And because you know them really well, you know how they would want their stuff marketed, what would work with them. That's what I mean by ideal reader.
All right, so I just want to, let everybody out there know that I did not make notes for this episode, and I did not read Ari's notes before we started recording. So when Ari said that an ideal reader is like a fictional character in a way, you can imagine the look on my face, because that is not at all what I thought this episode was going to be about.
This is great communication between the two hosts here. Excellent.
Well, to be fair, when I think of ideal reader, I always thought it was the target audience. I thought those two terms were interchangeable. So I didn't realize you're teaching me something new. So thank you for that. I don't really know what to say because I've never done that before. Whenever I think of my writing and I think of the target audience, I'm like, okay, I want to target to, this age group, and I want to target to people who read cozy mystery and who like that kind of stuff. And I think we've mentioned before in another episode about how sometimes your target audience can be the complete opposite of what you're aiming for. I mean, you can be the person that draws someone into your genre. But when it comes to creating an ideal reader like a fictional character, man, like that sounds difficult. And I might not be comprehending what you're trying to say well, so maybe it's not as difficult as I think it is, but how do you even go about creating an ideal reader in your mind? Because you said you did it for your business, so how do you sit down and do that?
You're totally right. It actually is hard, especially if it's something you're coming new to, because I'd heard this term loads. I'd done loads of business courses and marketing courses, and every now and then it came dropped in, and I was just like, that sounds ridiculous, or it sounds confusing. It's like, how am I supposed to market everything to this one specific person? I don't get it. And then I think I did a marketing course, and it literally broke it down for me. And I think they used an example of a cafe that was dog friendly, and it said how the cafe owner had worked out that the ideal customer was a middle-aged woman who was quite liberal in her thinking, a little bit of a hippie. She loved her dog. Her dog's name was Coco. It was a grey Irish wolf. She literally went like down into the name of this woman, the name of the dog, the sort of drink she would order, and all this. And it's like, okay. And then it showed all the several marketing things that she put on Facebook for the cafe and how she targeted to this woman. Now, it wasn't like, hi, Carol, bring Coco and visit us at our cafe. It wasn't like that. But just the way she'd done her marketing graphics and the text, I could see, stepping back, I could see how she was using this specific person's image and how she was using like this woman who really loved her dog and liked to come in out of the rain and just spend a quiet moment in the cafe away from everybody and just read a book. So she targeted her and like targeted towards this person and said like how comfy the booths were and how quiet the cafe was because of the partitioning and how the dog friendly it was. And it literally took the aspects of this specific person and turned them into marketing parts. And after I did that, I was like, wow, okay, that makes more sense. So it is weird and it takes a bit of getting used to. I'm not going to lie. If it doesn't come natural to you, don't give up. Just keep trying. And like how you said, how would you go about that? The basic way is you start like with your target audience. So age is a good one to start with target audience. And before anyone jumps on me, yes, I know you can get a book that's read by 60-year-olds and a book that's read by 6-year-olds and it's the same book. It doesn't matter. You're talking general, you know, like YA is read by lots of people, but it is aimed at young adults. That's why the main character is the age they are, you know? It's like male main characters are often mostly read by men. Yes, you know, we've all read books where, you know, with women have read books with male main characters and men have read books with female main characters, but there's a reason people are driven to reading books and connecting more with a main character that's more similar to themselves. So you start with age and gender and interest. So if your target audience is 18 to 25, right? Say you're going for the new adult kind of age range. Within that age range, you pick an age. Maybe your ideal reader is 22. Are they female? If you write a female protagonist, you might think that that's probably the best way to go. Same with the male. Again, it's totally up to you. So then you've got a 22-year-old female. What are her interests? Okay, maybe she absolutely loves collecting hardback books, just loves it. Maybe she enjoys going out walking in nature. Maybe she loves roller coasters. Maybe she enjoys skateboarding. You just start picking interests out. And then beliefs. Is she very religious? Is she not religious at all?
But what you're saying makes complete sense, though. The way that you just described it, how you got from your marketing course about the lady in the cafe and stuff, that explains it beautifully. And that makes a lot of sense. So basically, instead of like when you think of your target audience and stuff and you sit down and begin writing your book, instead of thinking who would want to read this, you just sit down and say, okay, I want to write this for this person. Yeah. And I'm sure they exist somewhere. I just need to find them. So you're basically just like flipping your thinking like on its head.
Yeah. It's like imagine your target audience is stood in front of you. Say there's 20 of them. That's lucky. I don't think I'd even get 20. But say there's 20 people and they're your target audience. It's literally like going into that and grabbing one person and saying, right, you are my ideal reader. You are going to be the epitome of who I market to. And you pull that person out. And if you think about it, it makes sense because instead of saying, yeah, my target audience is, 18 to 25, it's a 22-year-old, it's a female, it's someone who doesn't like extremely graphic violence. There's someone who doesn't care for that. They maybe like something a bit more mysterious. So yeah, you pull someone out. It's like, say they're 22, they're female. Maybe they aren't big on the graphic violence. Maybe they are interested in friendships more. Now, that doesn't mean that all your books then can't have violence and can't have, have to have friendships and have to be like really intense like that. But it gives you an idea of things you want to think about in your writing. That's what it's for. It's to kind of just pull down from the target marketing, the target audience. I'm not saying that you shouldn't consider the target audience in general as well. It's just, it's a marketing tool that helps you get a bit deeper. And it's weird because when you look at marketing that's aimed at you, you start to realize that you're somebody's ideal reader. And if you've ever come across a piece of marketing that really grabbed you, that's probably because some, amalgamation of you is their ideal reader. And when you start deconstructing other people's marketing graphics or text, you can start to see it. It's really weird, but it is quite useful. So I know it sounds a bit messy, and this isn't the cleanest episode because I made notes, but they were bad notes. So yeah, I appreciate that people are going to be listening to this going, what the hell? But no, it's start with your target audience, make a list, what are the age of your target audience? What's the gender roughly? What are most of their interests? Are they nerdy people? Are they sciencey people? Are they outdoory people? And I know I'm being a bit cliche with these, but you know what I'm going at. What are their beliefs? What are their stage of life? What are the things that are important to them? You could even go a bit deeper. You could do like, what are their habits, qualities, quirks? And then you start drilling it down, and just take pieces and build a person. Come on, we're writers. You know how to make a character, make a profile, get one of your character profiles templates, line it up, and then build your ideal reader from that. And then once you've got this magical person, you then work out how you would market to that person. Because let's be honest, we know our characters inside and out, don't we? We could sit down and chat with them and we would know loads of stuff about them. We're saying do the same with an ideal reader and then figure out how would you market your book to them? Do they want lots of moving pictures? Do they want lots of like, oh my God, this is brilliant. It's like free or it's 99p. Or do they not really care about the cost and they're more interested in something deeper? Do they want a theme or a moral in their story? Do they want to connect with the writer? Do they want more bonus content? It's a weird thing, but it really does help. As I say this, I'm not even sure anymore. I honestly feel like I'm losing this episode completely.
No, you're doing great. Don't worry about it. So basically, you're kind of working backwards. When you write your novel, again, I'll say I've never done this before, so, take what I say with a grain of salt, but maybe it'll work. I don't know. I guess I'll have to give it a try myself. But basically, when you write your novel, or maybe when you edit it, keep a list for your ideal reader and pinpoint some of the best qualities out of your novel. I don't know if you're supposed to create your ideal reader before you start writing your novel or if it's during or whatever, but if you already have that first draft written or you're already on the 10th draft or whatever, when you read through it, keep a list of notes of some of the best qualities from your novel, and then you can probably try to create your ideal reader from that. Again, I'll use a cozy mystery as an example. If you have a cozy mystery and your protagonist's partner is a cat, then obviously you want to target it to cat lovers who love solving non-gruesome murders because it's a cozy mystery, or they love knitting and they love baking and you got recipes in the back of the book. I mean,
yes, this is it exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Oh my God. This is so cool. I don't like this though at the same time, because if you knew all of this crap that you had to do in order to write and publish a novel, would you have started writing in the first place?
Oh God, no.
I mean, seriously, you're honest. Good for you. Because seriously, when I was a kid and I was like, I want to write books, I want to be an author, I literally thought that I just had to write words and submit it to an agent and cross my fingers and hope for the best, and then they would take care of the rest. That is not how it goes at all. And then also there's the whole self-publishing route, but of course if you do the self-publishing, there's the editing, the book cover, there's so many different steps to it. Now not only do I got to think about my target audience, but I got to create an ideal reader. This is ridiculous, but it actually sounds like a lot of fun.
I think it's good because it helps you get away from the target audience. You start with the target audience, and as you said, you sort of work backwards, and you end up with this one person. And it's kind of better to market to one person than standing in a room full of people trying to market to everybody and have a load of people going, I don't get that, I don't want that, that's not for me. As you can see, I'm channeling old conferences I remember from being years ago. But think about it. Say your ideal reader is a 15-year-old, right? Who loves, oh God, I don't know what 15-year-olds love. Bacon? I don't know. Do they like bacon? Who knows? Egypt? I don't know. Some 15-year-olds. That instantly tells you that if your ideal reader is a 15-year-old, then maybe TikTok is your best bet for marketing, because that's where most teenagers seem to be. Whereas if it's a non-fiction book for professionals, then LinkedIn is your best one. Now, obviously, this is something you should already know. And if you don't know, then you need to be looking in social media a lot more. But that's just one thing it tells you. Now, if you said your target audience is, men from the ages of 16 to 35, well, where do you market? Where's the best place to market? It becomes a bit messier. And this isn't saying you should only market on TikTok, you shouldn't bother with anything else. Of course not. But it means maybe that's where you put the majority of the stuff. That's where you put the really heavy hitting marketing rather than stretching yourself thin. And I should point out, if you write multiple genres, you need multiple ideal readers, because your ideal reader for your horror is not going to transfer over to your romance, your contemporary romance. I mean, they might, but again, the likelihood is it's a better idea to come up with an individual ideal reader for different genres. So your middle grade school story and your erotica is different. And if I have to point that out, we're going to have a problem. But yeah, that's it. But honestly, it's actually just, as Rach said, it's quite fun, just building the character and then thinking about how to market to them. And I think, I don't know, I think if you try it, and it does take a bit, well, it took a bit for me, I think you'll be surprised at the sort of things you could come up with and how well it can affect the people that you put it out to on social media, depending on what you put your social media.
Yeah, I was just going to say how you said that when you need to create an ideal reader for your different genres and stuff like that. I was just about to say that when you create an ideal reader, it kind of makes marketing easier, quote unquote, for yourself, if you will. Marketing's not easy, but I think if you create an ideal reader and you target to that one person, then when you reach that ideal reader, because I mean, no two people read the same book, but there are so many people that have very similar interests and stuff like that. And when they kind of cross over, like if you have a 22-year-old female that loves cozy mysteries and they love cats and they also love baking, you target to that one ideal reader, but then you might have another 22-year-old female that loves cats, but she's not interested in the whole baking aspect. But that other 22-year-old female is like, oh, you like cozy mysteries and you like cats? Here, give this book a try. So it's like you create your ideal reader, and then it's just like that one person that you're targeting to, but then word of mouth kind of does the rest. And then you have like the similar branches. It's kind of like Marvel, where you're creating different timelines, but it's like different like-minded people in a way.
It's a very weird one, really, is the ideal reader. I understand why I pushed back against it for so long. And I understand there'll be people listening to this going, I'm not doing that, it sounds crap. I do get that, but I do suggest doing it anyway, just to prove me wrong. I don't know. Just be contrary.
But yeah, it makes a lot of sense though, because when you think of your target audience and you think of just the different, what's the word? Like YA, adult, new adult, what is that category?
Yeah, I think it is category, yeah.
Yeah, so when you think of like your target audience and the different categories of books, like you have young adult, new adult, and all that fun stuff. And like one of the main things about those different categories is the age of the protagonist. I lost where I was going with that. Scratch that. I don't know what I was about to say.
It does make you think differently. So say we take an idea of an ideal reader. Something you also need to think about is why. Why do they want to read your book? What makes your book so appealing to them? So say your ideal reader is a 18-year-old child of divorced parents, quite an isolated person, brought up quite strict. They might be really drawn to your book because you have found families. You know, you have someone who was from divorced parents. Found families can be quite a strong pull to a lot of people who've been there. Simple things like that. So having that detail, drilling down to that ideal reader, that their age, where they live in the world, the fact that they have divorced parents, the fact that maybe they are Catholic, I don't know, I'm just pulling things out now. Anything like that can have some form of impact on what they might think and how your book might appeal to can make a difference. So, and this isn't me saying, right, you've got your ideal reader, so then you ought to be writing found families. You ought to be writing less graphic scenes. You ought to be writing. No, that's not it. Write what you want to write. If you want to write dark, gritty, intense, sometimes violent stories, horrors, mysteries, do that. But then work out what your ideal reader, if it's obviously someone who's into that, you know, your ideal reader shouldn't be some sort of quiet, conservative vicar's wife. Or maybe it should be. I don't know. But it's thinking like that. It's putting quite a lot of detail into your ideal reader so that you can work out, okay, so if my ideal reader is someone who's still quite young, a little bit sheltered, and they're from divorced parents, how has that affected them? Right, how will I market my book that's got found families and maybe a bit of adventure? How can I market it to that person who has these traits? That's what you're supposed to do. Remember, it's a marketing tool. Go back to the cafe idea. Thinking about how that person who liked quiet reading, whatever type of drink it was, and their dog, how the cafe owner was able to appeal to them and those aspects. It's the same thing.
So again, this is a marketing tactic, as Ari just said. So you can find like-minded books to your own, and you can go on to that author's website and social media and see what they do and the types of graphics that they produce to like draw their own audience in. Obviously, not saying to steal whatever that they do, but like take a look at what they do and what seems to work for them, and then really think about how you can make that work for your own book, because no two books are the same, and you obviously want to make your marketing tactics unique. But you can draw some inspiration and get a few little ideas from what other people do. And then from there, you can take a look at your ideal reader and kind of mesh the two of them together and just see what works and see what doesn't. As with any marketing, everything is a trial and error, and you need to just put stuff out there. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, you got to tweak it a little bit. I mean, all in all, when it comes to creating the ideal reader, what I'm getting out of this is one more distraction from writing, from editing, or whatever other stage you're on with your novel. So we're giving you more ways to procrastinate on your book. You're welcome. That's all I got.
No, we're helping you with your marketing, apparently.
No, distractions. Distractions.
Yes, it
Go
should
on
not
to
be a
sit
distraction.
and create your ideal reader and then get sucked into playing it for the next 12 hours.
Feeling called out again.
Yeah, really.
Just going to add a few extra things. You can create your ideal reader from scratch. You can base it off somebody you know or some person in real life. Again, like anything, always be a bit wary about doing that. It's not always the best. Or it could be parts of yourself, because in the end, you should be writing for you. However, you will age, you will change, things about you will change. So while you can be your own ideal reader, it should be more likely to be pieces of you. Like if you're writing a YA and you're 35, then it's probably more that your ideal reader is a younger version of yourself, you know, like what you were like when maybe you were 16, not how you are now at 35, just saying. To be honest, I always use myself a little bit as an ideal reader or an ideal customer. It's like how I want things to be marketed to me, what would appeal to me. But again, it depends on how I'm doing things. And then I shift my traits down. So it's like, well, what I was like when I was younger, you know, constantly reading point horror, love storms, didn't want to go anywhere, didn't like talking to me. Oh my God, it's just the same as I was back then, just grayer and grumpier. But anyway, so start off picking, either decide whether you're going to write a completely new character for your ideal reader or use traits from yourself. Build it up like a character profile. Start with the basics: age, gender, interests, location, beliefs, because they can make a big difference. And then if you want to go a bit deeper, give them a name, give them a pet, give them some hobbies, some likes and dislikes, a few quirks, you know, favorite swear word, I don't know. And then keep that little template for when you do your marketing. Go back to writing. Rachel's right. Don't use it as procrastination, but have that ideal reader ready for when you're going to do your mark. And if I can remember, I'm going to find some resources about ideal readers and maybe some templates that I've seen online, and I'll put the links in the description below if I remember. And then that will probably help because other people do it, explain it better than I have. Definitely.
I like how we always say that. We'll put some resources in the description below if we remember. And that's our way of saying that even when we edit this episode and we hear ourselves say that, we're still not going to add resources to the description. I
think I've done it once.
Going to somehow forget.
Yeah, it's like once or twice, or like 4 weeks later, I go, oh, I forgot that, and I have to go back in and edit. That's why you should always go back and recheck, because you know there might be some goodies there that we hadn't put originally.
That is true.
Okay, let's bring this to a close. Feels like it's gone on forever. Okay, it's over to you guys. Have you designed your ideal reader? Did you even know about ideal readers, or is this like a totally new thing? We'd love to chat about it. Tell us your answers in the comments below. If you want more of the Merry Writer podcast, be sure to follow us on Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to our podcast. They're everywhere. And for as little as $1 a month, you can join us on Patreon at patreon.com/The Merry Writer Podcast for bonus content. It helps to keep our show going, and we really do appreciate the support. In the meantime, tune in every Wednesday for a new episode of the Merry Writer Podcast, where we ask all the right questions. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by Scribble Notes. Our handwriting is awful. The music, titled Inspired, is by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons 4.0.